Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. And I've got a good one for you today. This is one I kind of been thinking about for a while. And this is my top 5 most Canadian firearms. And by most Canadian, I mean most common. Like, if you're looking for a Ross rifle, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about common, everyday Canadian guns. The ones that you'll see coast to coast to coast. And of course, this is all subjective, obviously. And these are my guns, so it's my top 5 most Canadian guns. But I think it's pretty, if you're anywhere in my era or generation, or think along the lines of Grandpa's guns, Uncle George's guns, you know those guns? The guns that are still sitting out in the corner of the barn there. Yeah, those ones. So yeah, no Ross rifle, nothing cool like that. But cool nonetheless. I'm talking typical Canadian guns. And a top 5 list I figured for Canadian most commonly encountered long guns. I figured out of 5 you need a 22 and you need a 12 gauge shotgun, right? But probably the most commonly encountered 22 in Canada right now would be like a Ruger 1022. And the most commonly encountered 12 gauge would probably be a Remington 870. But I have those guns, but I don't have them here because I don't think they don't have that Canadian flavor I'm looking for. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I start. So I'm going to start at number 1 and I'm going to work my way down to 5. So I'm going to start with what I think would probably be the most commonly encountered gun. If you go through the closets and the barns and the boats and everything else, I'm gonna pull out number 1, a single shot Cooey 22. Now it could be any single shot 22, but the most Canadian of all has got to be a Cooey. And here, I'll turn that around where you can see that a little better. Yeah. So yeah, Cooey, a Canadian company, like 1919, I think, till 1979, they had their name on things. They were Cooey Winchester, I think after 1961 it was. But this is a Model 75, and Cooey made dozens of models of single-shot 22s. And so many people in Canada, this was the first gun they fired. Not necessarily a 75 like this, but very similar. You got the gist of it. So yeah, I don't know how you could beat that for common Canadian firearm. And its mate and number 2, of course, is the shotgun, the 12 gauge Cooey shotgun. And look at that beautiful engraving there. Cooey Machine and Arms Company. So yeah, single shot 12 gauge, 30-inch barrel, missing the front bead. This one's probably cleaner than your Uncle George's or that one out in the barn. If you grew up in Canada around firearms, you are well aware and well acquainted with both of these. And yeah, coast to coast to coast. Seriously, these things are everywhere. I think like the record grizzly bear was shot by a lady in northern Alberta wasn't a Model 75, I think it was an Ace, but a Cooey, single shot 22. As Canadian as it gets. Now, I'll go right into number 3 here. And number 3 is one that you guys, if you've been around guns in Canada, a lot of you would have guessed it would be number 1, but these were made in Canada, in Ontario, so they got to be number 1 and 2. And common, 22, 12 gauge, they got to be the most common ones out there. But number 3, again, in the hugely common category. Oh yeah, you guessed it. It had to be a 303. And of course, by 303, you know I mean a Lee Enfield and a Sporter. Not, sadly, a beautiful long branch with all its original wood, but a sporter. And this one is an Ishapur. 1915, a Model 1 Mark III Star, and of course a number 1 Mark III Star. But number 4s, of course, number 4 Enfields are everywhere and sporterized. And I love the wood on this thing, but they're everywhere. These things have shot more moose and more deer and caribou and bear and who knows what else. And of course, in this thing's life, who knows what else. But an absolute must. Everybody's seen them. Everybody's got somebody. Everybody knows somebody that hunted with these. And I hunted with this thing when my kids were little in the 80s. And yeah, this thing just with me has taken deer and bear. Okay. Now number four was the toughest one to decide on here. These are givens as far as I'm concerned. But number 4 and number 5, I had to keep number 5. Number 5 is solid number 5. Number 4, I think had to be a Mauser, and like probably a Swedish Mauser. Now I know what you're thinking. A Husqvarna. See, Canadians love their Nordic guns, the Finn guns, the Swede guns, right? The Tikas and the Sakos, right? Nice. But common, the working man, the poor man, common gun, Canadian gun would be a Husqvarna in 270, right? Everybody knows a guy that hunts with a Husqvarna at 270. And I used to, and I don't have it anymore. But I do have an M96. A Swedish Mauser, a Carl Gustaf. Check it out. Now look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now hiding under my fingers is something that's going to make this so Canadian, the Swede lovers will weep. Oh yeah. A 3006, where the 6.5 by 55 should be. Sweet mother of Odin, what have they done? So, yeah, 30-06. And these guns are everywhere. Everybody knows somebody that's got one of these. And they're beautiful guns, and they shoot like a dream. All right. Canadians love their Swede guns. Okay? It's true. Okay, now what do you think's going to be number 5? It's the newcomer to the Canadian scene, but it's in the category like these, which are basically the working man's, poor man's guns, right? But it's a must because it's become a Canadian icon of sorts. Haha, the SKS. You had to know it. You had to know it was coming. Yeah, these things are everywhere in Canada. Canadians love them. AK-47s are prohibited in Canada. And ARs are restricted weapons, so you can only take it to the range. But this little puppy here it's a Russian. Canadians love their Russians. And poor man's gun, because to the Americans watching this, these things are still $200. Like, we're at the beginning of 2019 right now, and Cabela's has them for $229, and that's the regular price. Canadian Tire sold them up until the last year, and I don't know why they stopped selling milsurps, but they did. But yeah, these things are everywhere. 10-shot mag. I'll show this for the Americans. With a pin in it, so the follower cannot go all the way down, so you can only load 5 rounds in there. It's so Canadian. And Canadians obediently leave those in there. Yeah, we really do. Of course, we all say zombie apocalypse time, and the pin's coming out. But until then, yeah. Well, that's it, guys. Tough to argue with these, but I'm sure you all will. So, don't worry, I won't be offended if you don't like my choices, but I don't know how you can argue with the first three. But anyways, tell me what you think. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you would add here. And none of these guns have scopes, so maybe tell me what you think the most Canadian scope would be. Like these Enfields, a number 4 with a shortened barrel and a scope on it would be Canadian AF. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.